Hey everybody, today we've got another presidential political shift. This one was suggested to me in the comments a while back. I finally got around to it. Today we're looking at 1952 to 1968. So as always, if you just want to skip ahead to the map, there will be a link down below. But if you want to get just a little bit of background about these two elections, 1952, that was Dwight Eisenhower. He won his first term, and he won it by a lot. He got 442 electoral votes, carried 39 states, good enough for over 55% of the popular vote. The Democrat was Adlai Stevenson. He got only 89 electoral votes out of 9 states, and he got over 44% of the popular vote. So we're going to jump ahead 4 elections and compare that to 1968. The winner was Republican Richard Nixon. He got 301 electoral votes with 32 states and 43.4% of the popular vote. The Democrat that year was Hubert Humphrey. He got 191 electoral votes. He carried 13 states plus D.C. and got 42.7% of the popular vote. Now that year also had George Wallace. He's listed as an American independent. He actually got 46 electoral votes out of 5 states and 13.5% of the national popular vote. So Wallace is a third-party candidate. Some of the southern states that did not support the National Democrat or National Republican that year, to make it simple, they're going to go down as a 0. These are just going to show the shifts between the major Democrat and major Republican. And also there's a lot that was happening in the country at the time. So those changes and the reasons for some of these shifts, that is a different type of video. I'll leave that up to you. I'm just here to make it easy and provide the numbers. So let's get back on the spreadsheet. Love it or hate it, this is what we've got. The first column are the states. The second column, that's the 52 Adlai Stevenson vote. Then we've got the 52 Eisenhower vote. Then we jump ahead 16 years. We've got the 68 Hubert Humphrey vote. Then the 68 Richard Nixon vote. Then the Democratic shifts between those two elections, followed by the Republican shifts. The last column is the net change between the two parties between the two elections. To make it a little easier, there's also some shading in this column. The darkest colors are 10 or more points. The lightest colors are under 5-point shifts. So Alaska, Hawaii, and Washington, D.C., they were not states or did not vote in 1952, so we don't have to look at those. But other than that, we could get started in Alabama. And remember, third-party vote, including George Wallace, that is not going to count for the Democrat or the Republican, but it does affect the shifts in some of these states. So having said that, in 1952, Adlai Stevenson got 64.6%. Dwight Eisenhower got 35. In 1968, Hubert Humphrey sank all the way down to 18.7. Richard Nixon also sank down to 14, and that comes out to a loss of 45.9 for the Democrats and a net loss of 21 for the Republicans. And that's a total net shift of 24.9 away from the Democrats and toward the Republicans. So that's how this works. I'm going to try to go quickly through the rest of these states. Arizona, that shifted a mild 3.1 toward the Republicans. Arkansas had a bigger red shift of 12.5. Now we've got some shifts toward the Democrats. California, 11.4. Colorado, 12.2. Connecticut, 17. Delaware and Florida had the exact same shift, a very mild blue shift of 0.4. Georgia had the biggest shift toward the Republicans. That moved a staggering 43%. Idaho, 4.9 toward the Democrats. Illinois, same direction by 7. Also in Indiana by 4.8. Iowa, even further in that direction by 16. Kansas, slightly farther still by 18.2. Kentucky, though, back toward the Republicans by 6.2. Louisiana, small red shift of 1.1. Now we've got more shifts toward the Democrats. First, in Maine, that had the biggest shift out of all the states. It got bluer by a massive 42.5. Maryland, 13.3. Massachusetts, a very significant 38.8. Michigan, 18.1. And Minnesota, 23.7. Mississippi decided to go toward the GOP by 11.3. Missouri, almost no change there. 0.4% toward the Democrats. Also toward the Democrats, we've got Montana by 10.3. Exact same margin of 10.3 in Nebraska. Nevada got a shade bluer than that by 14.7. Also in New Hampshire by 13.6. And in New Jersey by 12.7. New Mexico decided to get a little bit redder by an even 1%. New York, a healthy blue shift of 17.4. North Carolina, that shifted red by 16%. North Dakota, that had a big lurch toward the left by 24.9. Ohio, 11.4 toward the Democrats. Oklahoma got 6.5 redder. Oregon, 15.6 bluer. Pennsylvania, also bluer by 9.4. Rhode Island, much bigger blue shift there of 34. South Carolina, just under double digits, 9.9 toward the Republicans. South Dakota, another big blue shift of 27.2. Tennessee, 9.5 toward the Republicans. Texas is back toward the Democrats by 7.6. Utah, small red shift there of 1.6. Vermont went hard toward the left by 34. Virginia went mildly toward the left by 2. And the rest of these are toward the Democrats. Washington, Wisconsin 11.7, West Virginia 5, Wisconsin 18.7, and Wyoming 5.3. Those are the states. We've also got the national shift down here that is 10.2 away from the Republicans and toward the Democrats. So that's it. Those are the states and the shifts. But we've got to pull up the map to help visualize all these changes. Here it is. We've got similar shading. The darkest colors are still 10 or more point shifts. The lightest colors this time, those are the tilt margins of under 1 point. So 4 levels of shading. And naturally, you're going to want to try to find some takeaways. Well, most of the South during those 16 years, they got a lot more Republican. It does make it more complicated though, because George Wallace was on the ticket in 68 and he actually won some of those states, but there's other milder red shifts in the Southwest, but a lot of big blue shifts on here, including some states we would consider to be red today, such as Idaho, Iowa, and West Virginia. But this is a great shift for the Democrats. The West Coast and the Northeast, they're all solidly blue, but I would say there's one exception, that would be Delaware. Somehow they defied the trends. They were basically stagnant between those elections. They had the same shift of 0.4% as Florida. Those states are in different parts of the country. Delaware is surrounded by much bluer shifts, so that stands out to me. Other than that, Texas even got bluer. That is pretty much a southern state, but we've even got Wyoming, the Dakotas, Indiana. Those states saw a nice improvement for the Democrats. Now the thing to keep in mind is the Republicans did win both of these elections. 1952 was pretty much a landslide. 68, Richard Nixon won it, but it was much closer. So even though there's a lot of blue on this map, you might think Hubert Humphrey was the winner in 68, but that wasn't the case. Eisenhower had a lot of room to spare on the margins in 52, that this still ended up being a Republican win. So again, the reasons for all the shifts in all these states, that's a different kind of video. And on that note, let me know in the comments, what do you think about any of the shifts in any of these states? Let me know down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join or donate if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.